What's going on, guys? We are back with another movie review. Now, today we are going to look at a movie that was released in May. However, that was before I started making videos and kind of releasing what my opinions are or what the basis for those movies were. Today, we are going to look at the film IF, or Imaginary Friends. Now, the one thing I will say going into this movie, you see the previews, you see the commercials, and it really brings you in when you see Ryan Reynolds, John Krasinski, and seeing the relationship that they have outside of the movie industry as friends, but also allowing it to kind of shine on the screen. Now, the one thing that was very intriguing about this movie was there wasn't really a dynamic about those two. Now, as the movie starts, you really see Bea and her dad's relationship because her mother had passed away and she goes and stays at her grandma's house. But one night she discovers something crazy. And in that moment, she starts to kind of pick up on some weird things going along at her grandma's house. Now, you may have had an imaginary friend growing up. I personally did not. But this is where we start to see Cal, played by Ryan Reynolds, and different characters going in and out of windows on the street, running around the street, but also living in an upstairs apartment. Now, the one thing that was very intriguing about this movie was the different dynamics between each of the imaginary friends. So each one had a specific purpose. They all either had a kid before or didn't have a kid and were looking for a kid to kind of be in their life. But the one common denominator was the kids have gotten older. They are now adults and they do not believe. Now, when you're watching this film, I believe they did a great job of highlighting some very serious parts, but also some parts where you as an audience get to have fun and enjoy it. So in the beginning, we see Bea's mom pass away, and now her dad's in the hospital, worried the same thing is going to happen to him. And that would have been the second parent that she had lost. Now, as you are watching the film, the happiness comes from different perspectives where she's talking to an older bear. When she's having that conversation, she really sees the kind of person that Cal is. She sees that everybody at one point has something they believe in, and it ultimately leads them to happiness. It allows them to get their mind off of things. And this is where we kind of see this movie go. Now, this movie is a little bit longer of a movie, but overall it is very well done. I think if you are to sit down, it's a movie where you could watch it with your kids. They would understand it. But the one thing I will say for me, I felt that the audience in the theaters the two times I saw this movie were more of the 10 to 14 age range. And that would fit this dynamic perfectly. Certain scenes in the film kind of allow it to target that specific audience about really not growing up so fast. And so my biggest takeaway when watching this film and watching that Bea realizes that Cal is her imaginary friend. Cal has been there her whole life. The big thing that it really taught me was don't stop being a kid and look back at the times you had as a kid and realize what they mean. And so what I was able to really take away was growing up is okay, but it is also important to never forget those important parts of your childhood. And for me, Imaginary Friends is a good movie. It's one of the better kid movies of the year. And for me, on a scale of 5, it is a 4.6 out of 5. Now, I know critically it's hovering around a 6.2 rating or a 62%, I believe, Rotten Tomatoes score. But the one thing to take in mind when you're looking at ratings like that is that sometimes the people are too critical. And I've said this in a few other reviews where you go in with such high expectations, and if a movie falls a little bit below, you think you have to knock it down a score. And so for me, a 4.6 is where I would put this film. It's a movie that has now been released on Paramount Plus, so you're able to stream it there, and it is a well worth a watch. My nieces really enjoyed it. One of my nieces is 2, and she was able to sit through the film and enjoy it. I have neighbors that have watched it, and their kids are 10 and 7, and they really enjoyed it as well. So, Imaginary Friends, if you have not seen it, go watch it and enjoy it. And let me know down below what you think of that movie. Thank you all for the views and the continued support. Make sure you subscribe. I will have more reviews coming out this week. And I hope to talk to you guys soon, and have a great rest of your weekend.